Hello, Infinite Creator. This Living Resonance as the Quantum You 2-day event was recorded on December 3rd and 4th of this year, 2025. And I have decided to put it up on YouTube because I feel it is the ultimate energetic reset before going into 2026 to remind you that you exist in oneness beneath everything else you've piled on top of that, as far as identity, feelings that make up stories, and beliefs about yourself that simply are not true. Maybe they were ways to help cope or survive this reality, but underneath all of that, you are the changeless self, and you are incredibly powerful. If you want a full remembrance of that over 2 days, I highly recommend listening to both of these videos in their entirety. And as my gift to you, I hope that this brings beautiful, infinite remembrance and expansion. And if you like this content, I sure would appreciate you letting me know. Leave a like, leave a comment, consider subscribing to this channel. It will show the algorithm of YouTube that you value this content, and it will push this out to other conscious creators and visionary innovators like yourself so they can benefit from what's in here too. Please enjoy, and thank you so much. Okay, welcome, welcome. Hello, everyone. There is only audio here. If it's your first time in one of my transmissions, we eliminate sensory overload by just doing audio. There's nothing to see. If you want to see what I look like, there's my picture. You all have been muted because I would like to preserve the integrity of this recording. If you are not muted, if you'd kindly go ahead and do that, just so everyone who listens to this recording does so with a nice, clear, clean broadcast. So what I like to ask of you all before we begin here is to eliminate even more sensory overload and to come into full presence. Get rid of anything else on your browser. If you're distracted, if you're driving, I highly recommend bagging this and coming back. You'll have the replay. I'm saying it all to you who are in my email list. So you'll have this replay. Listen to it later. These transmissions communicate on a soul-to-soul level. And so I ask that you come into stillness, that you come into a place of minimal distraction. So sometimes that means escorting four-legged friends out of the room that you're in. A lot of people tell me that their animals come into the room when I'm speaking. I understand that. But if they are a distraction for you, you might want to just escort kitty or doggy or rabbit or whatever you have, ferret, out of the room and let them join you later. So this is a 2-day transmission. And we build this wisdom comprehensively. So if you want to get the most out of this living resonance as the quantum you, I highly recommend listening to them day 1 and then day 2. And coming into full presence, breathe into the now. Breathe deep in through the nose. And out through the mouth. And breathing in through the nose. And out through the mouth. Be here. Give yourself this gift. Keep breathing into the now. Establish your own pace, your own rhythm. Get rid of all distractions. Be fully present, and you'll get the most out of this 2-day consciousness upgrade, because that's what it is. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for being here. There's a wonderful group of you all here, some familiar names, some new. You are all welcome in this space, and I appreciate you all taking the time to be here today. As we're on this precipice of coming into 2026, maybe we're in a period of reviewing the year as it's been, how we've moved and responded to all the events and all the feels that come from these events this year. And there's a pervasive feeling that I'm tapping into with our group that there is a great desire to want to slow down. There is a great desire to want to welcome silence, to minimize noise, to catch those subtle notes beneath the noise. Noise comes and goes. All experiences, all thoughts come and go. Silence always is. Silence is what births the noise. It is what holds the container where the noise can be. Silence is ever unchanging. It always is. It never comes and goes. It's the ever-present note beneath the noise. It is what perceives the noise. And that silence, that stillness, is awareness itself. It's the current. All life flows along this current. All creation is this current. This is awareness itself, consciousness, presence, that which knows the coming and going of all things, that which witnesses the coming and going of all things. You have always been that. So let everything just stabilize here and start to slow down. As you pause here to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, and go deeper into this presence in the now. It is not escape from the noise or the momentum of all that which moves. It is entering the space that contains that which moves. The circumstances, senses, perceptions, bodily sensations, thoughts, feelings that are always on the move. As you breathe in and out, let them be absorbed back into the space of presence. The space that always was, ever unchanging, before there was noise formed or experience of movement created. Presence is us, the human us, learning to extract our seeing, our awareness from this movement. So just take that movement. If you're still witnessing things, maybe it's thoughts about what you didn't get to today, what you still must to attend to later on. Take that movement, breathe into it, and turn it inward. Let that energy just be transformed, transmuted into a greater awareness of the space of presence. I want to bring to your awareness that throughout all of the changes in life, this year there have been many, Next year, there will be many more, because experience is ongoing. You can't stop it. And with that is change. That's a constant, if there is to be experienced. But within that, underneath that, there's something that's never changed. All sorts of life circumstances have come and gone, maybe this year, maybe over the decades, maybe over a lifetime. The body has changed in appearance. All sorts of thoughts and feelings have come and gone. Belief systems have come and gone. Desires and resistance alike, always changing, coming and going. The personality changes. The identity changes. But amidst all of this, there has been something which hasn't changed. That something is your presence, is the unchanging self. So bring that something, that unchanging presence, into your noticing now. The I. The I am. The I am is the same always. Invite and feel the presence of that here as something which never changes, as an energy that is immutable, really. No matter how much we dress it up or play with the tinker toys of ideas and beliefs and thoughts and identities and belief systems, no matter how old the body grows, how dull the senses become, how much the mind changes, there is something which never changes. The immutable presence of the self, the soul-led self, the self with capital S. Some would call it, and I used to call it, the bigger self, the higher self. But I no longer deal in false dichotomies or hierarchies. That has left my vocabulary, it has left my thought paradigm completely. There is no higher or lower. Those are false dichotomies that come from the analytical mind, not the organic nature of things. So it's the unchanging self, the immutable self, the presence. And that something, if it is a thing, it is yourself in full frequency, that full presence, the fractal of God, the source. If you don't like the word God, fine. Source. Infinite intelligence, the field, infinite creator, the conscious creator. Listen and witness with that part of you here, today and tomorrow. That part of you that already knows everything I'm about to say and wants the human, small self, the ego self to remember. So maybe you're reviewing your life right now. Here we are in December at the jumping off point, 2026. And maybe you're doing an inventory. Maybe you're doing some reflection. Good. It's good to be curious. You may feel as though your life has become a never-ending project, constantly under construction. Patch something here, correct something there, fixed and fixed again, until you forget what the original foundation of you ever looked like. And it doesn't take much imagination to see that when you look out at the mirror of reality and you take in the world as it is, there's a lot of people forgetting what the original foundation looks like. The never-changing, the unchanging, the immutable self, the soul self. Beyond the separation, sickness, where you can see that everything's and everything one and everything is just one. And in that world, we're obsessed with upgrading. the world where we forget. You are already enough, and nothing about you is broken. I don't care how convincing and seductive those thoughts in your mind might be. It simply does not represent the truth, and it is not a fact. You do not need fixing. You only need remembering. For most of your life, you've been told you must become something, cultivate some worth, develop value, prove your importance, right? You're taught that without effort, there's nothing worth having. You're incomplete, is the underlying message. Prove your worth, work hard. That without self-improvement, without transformation, you're unworthy. And so early on, you adopted those ideas as truth. You began the long journey of self-improvement. You wouldn't be here if you weren't on some part of this journey of self-improvement and thinking it's still the road to peace. And that's okay. I was there for a long time too. I completely get it. But chances are, if you find yourself in my orbit, there's something I might have said somewhere along the line that caught your attention, and you listened a little bit deeper because you're finding, or you have found, that every step deeper into becoming better somehow seemed to push peace further away. Yeah? It felt like a game of chase or capture the flag, except who are you chasing? What are you chasing? Where's the flag? Because the subtle message hidden beneath all improvement, all ideas about self-improvement, is pretty simple. You're not enough as you are. You're going to have to measure up in some way in order to deserve what you want. And you're going to have to work hard to get it, because anything worth having is worth working hard to get, right? Except none of us, even the ones who parrot that truth as if it's true, know that that's true at all. Not one of us. I watched my parents work really, really hard for most of their life. You know where I saw them be the most happy and the most relaxed into receiving abundance? And that abundance actually came to them? When they stopped working hard. When they stopped buying into the lie that incredible amount of effort equals an incredible amount of peace or prosperity or abundance or freedom. Because for a large part of their lives, that was not the case, even though that was what they told me was the case. But I was smart. I've always been a quiet observer of people who are running around talking about one thing and then doing the opposite, and seeing the craziness and deciding to opt out of that. That's basically my whole life in a nutshell. But that's a great tragedy of the human condition. People suffer these ideas, this nonsense. And it's not even that people suffer, but that they believe their suffering is evidence of their inadequacy. Like, if I'm suffering, I must be doing something wrong. There must be something I need to fix. There must be something I should improve. But what if everything related with that idea has always been wrong? What if the cracks you think you must fix, those energy leaks you have to patch up, are simply the places where the light is trying to enter, where this wisdom is trying to invite you to rejoin the truth of who you are? And so as I speak to you now with my heart wide open, my soul completely exposed, I invite you to do the same. Really open up. Breathe into presence, especially if you hear things that, you feel like it's triggering to you, or it makes you catch your breath in some way. That's your invitation to breathe. That's your cue to remember, I'm going to breathe back into presence, because only in presence can I see the truth. of what's going on. So as I speak to you now, heart wide open, I want to draw your attention to something you might have never noticed. Or maybe you have, but you need to remember, because this is all about remembering here in these 2 days. I'm not teaching you anything. I'm not teaching you anything. I'm inviting you to remember. And here's something that I'm inviting you to remember. Every child is born without the idea of self-improvement. Even you. A child doesn't wake up and say, I must learn to be worthy. A child simply is. A child laughs when he's happy, cries when she's sad, falls when gravity pulls, stands again when curiosity compels him to do so. And at no point does a child question whether it deserves to exist. That is learned. There may have been things that happened when we were little ones. There usually is. I haven't met anyone yet where that hasn't been the case. But what we decide to do with a moment, when we decide that moment belongs to us, and we identify, sometimes for the rest of our life, with that moment, ideas get adopted. Erroneous beliefs become inherited and then adapted to. These corrections are learned. They are not inherent or organic to our being. And as you grow older, you begin to inherit the anxieties of the world, right? The world's fears become yours. Ideas planted in you by society, by parents, teachers, caregivers, religions, institutions that themselves are worried and living in fear and wounded. But we decide that they have it on good authority somehow, so much so that they hand us off their fears like heirlooms and hand-me-downs, and you accepted them, sometimes blindly, from a place of cognitive development where we had no business in doing so, yet here we are, and thinking that they were truth. What these institutions and what these people representing these institutions taught you. And you learn to examine yourself like a flawed piece of machinery, right? These people, these institutions, they told you to constantly correct your emotions, discipline your desires, reshape your personality into something more pleasing. You're too much, dial it down. You're too little, dial it up. Be something more acceptable. But here's the thing. The universe never demanded any of this from you. People who themselves feel flawed, institutions who themselves are flawed, will find constantly something to correct. And they will issue the proper corrections. And us being dutiful and wanting to be approved of and wanting to succeed and wanting to belong to the tribe will say yes. The universe, your unchanging self, never demanded any of this from you. It silently watched without judgment, you doing all that, you accepting it, adapting to it as truth. But the you that exists as the constant unchanging presence has never needed that from you ever. Consciousness, the current of life itself, presence, source, God, has never asked you to justify your being, not once. Self-improvement is another false religion. Sorry, not sorry. You're the one who decided you were insufficient because you were taught to believe that perfection is the price of love or abundance or prosperity. You were swindled into the brilliant sales pitch built on this lie, that your next level of expansion comes from being better, developing yourself into something more. But if you're already all that which is, you're already one with everything that has ever been or ever will be. What the fuck is better? What the fuck is more? If you're new to my world, yes, I swear. a lot. I think fuck is one of the most spiritual words there is, but I digress. But that's just because what they told you love was another lie, a misunderstanding, a half-truth, because love, true love, is the same thing as true abundance. Love is the primary creational force. Love is the force that resonates at the same frequency as what you would call God, source. Love, true abundance has no price. It is not extracted. It is not transactional. And existence in its deepest nature is love. I did a whole post on that the other day, and I put it up on my YouTube channel. I put it in my Liberate Collective on School. I put it on my Facebook channel as a parting love note before I leave that platform. That's a whole other story I'm not going to get into. But if you're following me on Facebook, tomorrow's my last day there. True love, true abundance, because love is abundance. Abundance is. There's no getting more of it. Abundance is. Sadness, there's even an abundance of that. Suffering, there's even an abundance of that. Abundance is. True abundance and true love has no price. Existence, consciousness, at its foundational core is love. It is the primary creational force. You're not here to earn your right to breathe. You're not here to earn your right to love. You're not here to earn your right to abundance. If you are already all that which is, and you will never not be that, what is there to earn? What is there to attract? What is there to magnetize? You are that. And we're over here thinking that it's still separate, that there's a universe out there, like acting like a strict parent, tallying all of our mistakes and flaws. The universe is your very breath. It is a mirror of you. It's a mirror of your awareness. The eye that looks out from behind your eyes, that presence, that unchanging self, that awareness before thought, before identity, before shame, before you had a name, has always been whole. I want to give you a few examples in nature because I think nature is our best teacher in terms of accepting what is and being in collaboration with all that which is. Nature does it perfectly. If we look to nature and how perfectly it resonates with what is, we have a lot to learn. So let me share something with you. I'll give you an example of how absurd it is when we think we have to barter or effort for or earn our abundance. Imagine the ocean trying to fix a wave. That's silly, right? A wave rises and it falls. It expands and it crashes. At no point does the ocean worry that a wave isn't good enough. I hope there's enough waves for me to do this again. A wave is simply a temporary expression of the ocean's infinite dance, of its infinite movement. And you are a wave of that universe. You rise with joy, you fall into sadness, you rise with excitement, you crash with anger, you shimmer with hope. These states are not flaws, they are expressions. They are movements of life flowing through your form. But we humans, we get things all fucked up. We mistake our temporary states for permanent defects. Somewhere along the line, we decide that what happened to us belongs to us instead of belonging to the moment. Somewhere we get these crazy ideas that your sadness is a failure, that your anger is a flaw, rather than a moment, rather than a feeling ready to be digested back into wholeness of who you are and return to infinite possibilities. Somewhere along the line, you thought your fear was a flaw rather than a ripple of contrast. They're just so you can see the opportunity to choose differently and more in alignment with who you prefer to be. You thought your mistakes proved your unworthiness rather than your humanity. If you were to stand on a cliff overlooking the sea and a great wave curled upward before crashing on the rocks, you wouldn't say, that wave is broken. That's so sad. You would say, wow, how magnificent. And yet, when your own emotions rise and fall, you shame yourself for being too much or too little. That's learned. You didn't pick that up on your own. You picked it up somewhere along the way, but the real responsibility comes with understanding that you adopted it and then adapted to it as your truth. I mean, we pick up shit all the time. We don't latch onto everything, do we? We'd explode. What I want you to see is that you are not broken. You are alive. You are human. And aliveness is not meant to be symmetrical. It's not meant to be consistent. It's not meant to be controlled. And that's exactly what we try to do. Aliveness, your aliveness, is meant to move. Let's use nature again. Think of a forest. Close your eyes, breathe in deep, and see a forest. Silent, picture perfect, beautiful. It grows without the need for perfection. It grows without a plan. Not really. It grows without accountability. It grows without needing to deserve that it grows or needing to feel safe to grow. Trees bend, branches break, clouds gather rainfalls over the forest. The forest thrives not because it's flawless or perfect, but because it accepts the totality of itself. Humans don't like to do that. where every fallen tree in that forest becomes nourishment, every storm over that forest creates space, maybe, for new growth as it clears trees and old debris. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is wrong. Nothing needs fixing. And in the same way, the parts of yourself you judge as broken, just like the forest, it's the very soil in which your greatest wish, that seed of desire, grows. You can let all parts of yourself nourish it. And it doesn't matter if no one ever told you how to do this. You're remembering it now. You remember you always had this ability to do that. But the rub is that you've been running yourself ragged for so long that you've forgotten the original design. You've forgotten the truth that existed before you were taught shame, before you were taught guilt. You've forgotten the innocence in which you were formed. You know, there's a really strange paradox in human consciousness that this disease, I almost said, probably rightly so, to want to fix yourself because you believe you're separate from yourself. You imagine that there's a you that is defective and a you who is qualified to repair the defect. I mean, people who do subconscious rewiring and NLP, and I'm not shitting on any of this, but I'm saying that this is the perfect example of what this looks like. That when you're rewiring your subconscious mind with a hypnosis track or whatever, it's still the same you doing the rewiring. That's the illusion. But somehow you think, well, I have this tool, then I'll just tap into the one who's qualified enough to repair the defect. It's all you. You're playing a game with yourself. But when you look closely enough and you breathe into presence once again, this division collapses right before your eyes, right in real time. Everything gets absorbed back into the sacred now. There's only one awareness, one presence watching the whole play, impartially, by the way, without judgment, without an opinion. In this presence, the unchanging self, the fixer, and the broken one are characters in the same presence, two masks worn by the same consciousness, the unchanging self. And once you see this, you crack open into a whole new level of incredible freedom, and you resonate with the flow of life instead of pushing against it. Because if there's no separate self who needs improvement, what is left to fix? Who's broken? Who's chasing what, and what is chasing who? What is left to justify? You begin to notice that the myth of self-improvement arises from fear, not love. Yeah, false religion. Fear of rejection, fear of inadequacy, fear of not being enough, fear of losing affection, fear of never having enough affection. Essentially, every attempt you make to solve your troublesome situations from this level of feeling unsafe, of feeling unworthy and undeserving, will result in you misperceiving absolutely every means to your solution. This is why we get stuck and attached to the how. And it's all because you forgot that you're not a problem to be solved. You're an ongoing experience to be felt. You're an ongoing experience of expansion, of consciousness reflecting its wonder and infinite expression back to itself over eternity. So go ahead and breathe in and out. And remember, I was always this. I will never not be this. Consciousness reflecting its wonder and infinite expression back to itself. Why would I limit any part of it? What part of me? And where did I get that shitty idea that there is some part of me that needs to be shut down, that needs to be improved, that needs to be fixed? Why can't I feel all of me? And why can't that be okay? Where did I ever get the idea that it wasn't? Well, probably from someone else who was full of shit because they thought they weren't okay. Breathe. Let's go deeper. Stay with me. You're starting to really open up and remember, and it's beautiful. Fear can never create freedom. And most of us are walking around trying to manifest things from fear. Fear that looks like lack, fear that looks like scarcity, fear that constructs paradigms and systems that don't actually exist. Abundance is. There's even an abundance of lack. There is even an abundance of fear. There is even an abundance of scarcity, or at least the ideas of them. Fear can never create freedom. Because fear is the opposite. And it's not even the opposite, because true love as a primary creational force has no opposite. Love is. But fear is the absence of love. And when you return to presence, you return to safety, you return to love, and you remember that's not real. Your feeling of fear is real. Of course it feels real. But fear in and of itself is not real. The sensation of it does help us to navigate certain things, but it is only and ever a stepping stone. And for some people, it's become a life sentence. And when you're suffering and serving out that life sentence of living in fear, the more you attempt to improve yourself. And you buy into that lie. You improve yourself out of fear. But the trap is the more you attempt to improve yourself out of fear, the more fearful you become. It's like trying to escape quicksand by running. It just pulls you in deeper, sinks you faster. But when you're approaching life as a constant expansion, not improvement, then the feeling of approaching it as expansion, arises naturally as a form of play, exploration, and curiosity, which is all forms of love. It's the basis of freedom, that when you are in the presence and the safety of love and you breathe yourself into presence, just like I'm asking you to do here, you remember it. And you remember there's nothing to fix. There's only more curiosity that emanates from that space. Exploring what's next. Where is my soul inviting me to expand further, to take a step in this direction? Then it becomes playful. Then it becomes freedom. You know, a musician doesn't fix himself to play better. They play music because they love sound, because they love creating. A child learning to walk doesn't correct themselves. They follow the joy of movement. They're like, wow, this whole movement thing is really cool. I don't have to army crawl on the floor anymore. I can get up and walk around. I can touch this and I can touch that and I can knock that thing over. We forgot that life is creative play. We forgot that we can follow the joy of movement. We forgot that we can simplify life. And when we simplify life, life becomes lighter, because you stop trying to fix yourself and instead begin to express yourself. Expression is natural. Correction is learned. Imagine standing in front of a mirror, not like the mirror in your bathroom, though, but a mirror of awareness inside yourself. Just close your eyes if they're not closed already. Imagine standing in front of this mirror inside yourself. Look at yourself the way the universe looks at you. And if you don't know how that is, let me tell you. It's not through the eyes of comparison or judgment. It's not through the eyes of all the things you still have to fix or improve. It's not through the standards of society. The universe, consciousness itself, the current, the synchronistic life force current that is grace, that is love, looks at you with the eyes of eternal, infinite love, because that is the true nature of who you are. Anything and everything else is learned, adopted, inherited, handed off, and then adapted to by you. Let's be responsible for our life here as truth. It doesn't mean that it is true. It just means that you treated it as such up until now. Breathe. Close your eyes and now again look at yourself as if the mirror of universe is looking at you. What do you see? If you quiet the mind long enough, you begin to see something extraordinary. You see a being who has survived problems the world will never know. You see a person who has loved deeply. You see a person who has suffered silently. You see a fractal of God, masquerading as a human, wearing a meat suit, who has risen each morning despite the heaviness in their chest. You see someone who has been trying so hard to be good, to be worthy, to be accepted, to be loved. And behind all that trying, you see the child who simply wanted to be loved, not fixed. There's a time you didn't even know that that was a fucking thing. And that little one that got frozen in time, that's the one who's trying to fix. because somewhere he or she was told that that's the remedy, that's the antidote. Improve and fix, then you'll be loved, then you'll be worthy, then you'll be accepted, then you'll have success, then you'll have money, then you'll have the career. The list goes on. And you say, well, I'm not loved. And I say, bullshit. Because there is one person eternally responsible for loving you. And that is you. And the second you decide to do that, you are loved. So, love her now. Love him now. Be the universe in that mirror looking at you now, seeing yourself, love yourself with such unflinching compassion and tenderness, as if it's the universe looking at you, seeing yourself in your innocence, in the full wonder of you for the very first time. And breathe. And let that expand like a radiant sun in your chest. Let it ripple out to everyone in this space. Each one of you sharing with everyone else in here this ripple of love. Overlapping each other's self-love. Giving over to each other's love. And in this moment, you realize the truth. You realize what mystics have whispered for thousands of years. You are never broken. You're only wounded. And wounds don't need fixing. They need tending. But here's the trick. And it's not even a trick. It's just what no one ever told you, maybe until right now. Those wounds, they don't need fixing. They need tending, and they heal naturally when held in the awareness of pure presence, just like you are doing right now. You are doing that now, beautiful soul. Breathe and take that fully in. Let that sun in your chest spin and expand even more. This presence, this current, this light, it melts the illusion of inadequacy in whatever form that takes, in whatever meaning you've given it, in whatever identity you adopted to give it a home. Presence is the warmth that softens the inner critic. Presence is the hand that lifts the burden you've carried for so long. So let me ask you something here. While we're holding this beautiful space of presence and expansion, where it's safe to explore a little deeper. Have you ever noticed that your greatest suffering didn't come from what happened to you? Not really. It came from what you told yourself about why it happened. It's okay. Just breathe into that. You may have thought you deserved it. You may have mistakenly thought it proved some level of unworthiness. You may have believed it affirmed your unlovability or inadequacy as a human being somehow. You falsely thought it confirmed what others had hinted at or what you secretly feared. But right now, sitting with me and all the soul-led infinite creators in this quiet space of safe exploration, I want to tell you the truth. And I think you might be in a place to hear it without the filter of your anger, fear, or sadness and all your pain clouding your judgment. Your pain is not evidence of your inadequacy. It's evidence of your depth. Because only those who feel deeply can suffer deeply. Yeah. And here's the deeper revelation, which I also think you're ready to hear. What you call your flaws may in fact be your sensitivity, your intuition, your empathy. What you call your shadow is only and ever illuminating the fact that there is more expansion awaiting your permission to uncover it. I'm going to say that again. Breathe and clean all the gunk out of your ears so you can really hear this. What you call your shadow, your flaws, your mistakes, your failures, your misperceived shortcomings, what you call all of that is only and ever illuminating that there is more expansion on the other side of it, awaiting your permission to uncover it. You're exploring some of that right now. Because I know some of you on this call fear silence. I know some of you on this call feel that being in a place of stillness is not a good place to be, because it's going to call up all those bad memories, all those awful feelings, all of those echoes of times, places, and people that you don't like very much. But what if I told you being open completely to those spaces when you are in the safety of presence holds infinite expansion, just waiting on your permission to go into stillness and have a good look at it. To finally dispel the myth that what happened to you doesn't belong to you, what happened belongs to the moment. The subsequent feelings that arise from that belong to you. And in the space of stillness, in the safety of presence, you have the absolute, indistinguishable authority, the sovereign agency to let those feelings dissolve back into infinite possibility and become the power that you are. To move back into your full place of power as was always intended. What you call being too emotional, if anybody has said you feel too much, you're touchy, or maybe you don't feel enough, guess what? It all indicates a capacity to feel the world intensely. Some of us pull back from that. Some of us go all in with it. Maybe other people's estimations, we go over the top with it. Our too muchness is evident to them. Who says? But what you call being too emotional or not emotional enough is indication of a capacity to feel the world intensely. But because no one taught you how to honor those qualities, you mistook them for defects. They're not. You don't need to fix your sensitivity. You need to understand its power for transmuting the heavy feelings of anger, fear, and sadness back to your truth, back to your power, back to infinite possibilities so you can use it as fuel for the life you prefer to experience. You don't need to fix your emotions. You need to learn their language. You don't need to fix your mistakes because you haven't made any. You had experience. That's it. Whatever you assign to it as a meaning, it's still just impartial. At the end of the day, it's still just what happened. At the base level, it's just what happened, yes? And again, I'm going to remind you that it might be true that the suffering, our greatest suffering, came not from what happened to us, because what happened just happened, but from what you told yourself about why it happened and where we thought we might have deserved it, or we thought we did somebody wrong, or we didn't measure up in some way. That is your true source of suffering. You don't need to kill those emotions. You don't need to slay the ego. You don't need to kill your fear. You don't need to get rid of anger, fear, or sadness. You need to understand those feelings and feel them and really feel them. Let them move through your experience because they will transform your experience. Those feelings are your stepping stones for everything you want to create. Trust me. You need to see what those feelings reveal. You don't need to fix your past. You need to bless the path that brought you here. You could choose to do that. When? Now. It's all your power, my dears. You see, the desire to fix yourself is rooted in a misunderstanding of what you are. You think you're a small, isolated ego, a character who must solve its own problems, posing more mental questions to what were mental questions in the first place. So you're just chasing your own tail, like the dragon on my arm, tattooed on my arm is a dragon chasing its tail, which is how I felt for most of my life. Maybe that's how you feel right now. You're not a character here to solve your own problems created by the mind. You'll never solve the problems created by the mind because the mind needs something to do. The mind likes to compute. The mind likes to be busy. The truth about you is far grander. You are the awareness in which all your experiences arise and pass away. You are the witnessing presence. You are the unchanging consciousness, the silent background of consciousness that has never been harmed, never been diminished, never been incomplete, was never born, never dies. You are the sky. You're not the storm. You're the ocean. You're not the wave. You're not the drop. You are the awareness. You're not the thought and the awareness existing separately. You're creator and creation at once. And the only way to truly remember and rejoin the sacred union of one is to breathe yourself into presence. So for shits and giggles, let's do it again. Because the second you do it, and it takes place in the now, it takes place instantaneously when you breathe into presence, in through the nose, out through the mouth, deep belly breaths. All illusion of separation dissolves back into the synchronistic flow of grace, of love in motion, of consciousness having experience. Your awareness cannot be broken. It is the light that illuminates the truth that everything you want already exists. Whether you believe it's safe to have it or whether you believe you deserve to have it or not, it doesn't change the fact that creation is finished and it's all already here, everything you want, in oneness, in pure presence, right now. This is the oneness model. This is the lived in wisdom in which I share everything and that I see amazing, celebratory, beautiful things happen with the people that I work with. You know, most of us have been taught to live life as if we're beggars. Alms for the poor, asking the universe for scraps. And we speak of manifestation as though we have to coax the cosmos into giving us what we want. You don't have to convince the universe to give you what you want through techniques or scripts or rituals or prayers or visualizations. I'm not saying those things don't work, but there has to be an underlying foundational understanding and resonance already at work in order for those techniques and scripts and rituals and prayers and visualizations to work. In fact, every modality you want to practice, everything will work better and seamlessly and effortlessly if you are in presence, if you live from presence, if you are in the lived in wisdom of oneness. You know, most people who've been taught to live life as beggars are also treating the universe like a vending machine, through incomplete teachings about manifestation or half-truths of metaphysical concepts being passed around and regurgitated constantly in the spiritual marketplace. We think we insert the correct thoughts, we select desired outcome, and we wait for delivery. And we keep our vibration high, and we think positive thoughts. I've been in the shittiest mood ever and still manifested things that I have no explanation for. Wonderful things, not shitty things. When we're treating the universe like a vending machine, and we think that we follow this technique, say these affirmations, whatever, all the while, we never stop to question the basic assumption underneath this behavior, the underlying foundational resonance that must be there. Because most of us go about trying to manifest because we're assuming lack. We want something better. We want oneness. We want peace. We want freedom. We want to be at some level of financial freedom while assuming lack and separation, assuming that what we desire is somewhere out there and we're somewhere over here. And the two need to be connected through a ritual, a routine, a technique, a script, through effort or belief or some mystical technology that is the trend of the day. But what if I told you truthfully, everything you want already exists? This is not metaphorical. It's not symbolic. It's not in some poetic sense that I'm saying this to you so you can feel better. I mean, literally, truly, fundamentally, foundationally, everything you want already exists right now in a dimension that's just as real as the one you're sitting in here with me listening, just not yet perceived by you. It's a resonance you're not yet aligning with. But you can choose in any moment to align with that version of you who can perceive it. Because creation is finished. It's all already here. In the oneness model of the universe, it is all here, it is all now, and you are that. Because all is one. And for those people who are walking around calling them manifestation experts, they're not fully perceiving what manifestation always was. And the word manifestation I don't like to use it for the sake of brevity. I do, but the word manifestation has grown so heavy with striving and effort and desperation that the original insight about it, the foundational understanding, the premise of it has nearly been lost. Life is not about creating things. It is not about building things in the ethers. Life is about revealing them through the resonance you are holding. And that resonance doesn't have to be you in high vibe. It's not like that. That is a misunderstood and misperceived teaching of manifestation. Think of it this way. Everything's already here. Creation is finished. Think of it as a huge, enormous mansion with thousands of rooms. Everything's already there. So this is like establishing resonance and being in the resonance where you are an energetic match to the reality you'd prefer to see, the reality you'd prefer to live in. It's like walking into this enormous mansion with thousands of rooms. You don't create the rooms. They already exist. They're already furnished. They already have everything in there. Infinite rooms. And through your awareness, meaning what you place your attention on, you simply open the door to the one room you wish to experience. But when you're in that room, you can't see the other rooms. Can't see the other rooms that you haven't opened the doors to them yet. You assume they're not there. This is the limitation of perception from our human vantage point. And as long as you mistake your perception for reality, in other words, that perception is telling you that's all that exists, then you'll forever believe that you must manifest the rooms or create or pull out of the ethers the rooms that you want. But the mansion already has everything. It's already there. It doesn't require you to build anything. It only requires you to walk through the next door. So the real question is being present enough to know that there's a mansion with everything, and then being curious. In other words, being in the resonance of pure consciousness and presence itself, being in the resonance of love, which is infinitely curious, so that you can be aware that there's another door to open, that you just haven't opened the door to what you want yet. And then the real question is, why haven't you opened the door to what you want yet? Why haven't you experienced it, touched it, lived it? And this is where we really start to step into quantum reality creation. Today was laying the premise, but I just want to set up our call for tomorrow here, where we really start to get into quantum reality creation. If everything you want already exists, then the obstacle is not the universe. It's not anything outside of you. Creation is not outside of you. The obstacle is your identification. Your perception of reality is relative to who you are. You see not what is, you see what you are, or what you believe yourself to be. Most people attempt to manifest from an identity of someone. And that's partially true. And that's how we go into self-realization light, the diet version of self-realization, like the entry-level version of self-realization and quantum reality creation. At first, it is about being in that identity of the person that is the living end of who you choose to be. Even if a lot of the manifestation teachings are still about, well, you be in the feeling of pure love of yourself, and you'll be in the resonance of all the love that is, and this is true. And if you're trying to manifest a special person, they're going to vibrate along those frequency lines and, quote unquote, find their way to you. It's partially true. It's not the whole truth. But like I said, this is self-realization light. This is entry-level quantum reality creation. But most people attempt to manifest from an identity that is not a match. In other words, you're trying to identify financial freedom while you are assuming lack, striving, hoping, doubting, yearning, vibrating at the frequency of incompleteness, of feeling undeserving, while the version of you that has financial freedom is like the optimum version of deserving. It's not a match. And then those same people walk around wondering why life doesn't echo back situations that feel complete and whole, because they're assuming lack and operating from a place of incomplete and not whole. This is not life punishing you. This is life reflecting you, because that's all the mirror of reality can ever do. But here's the beautiful paradox. The moment you stop trying so hard to manifest something, you open the door for it to reveal itself. I can't tell you how many times that I've worked with clients who come to me and they ask for my help, and they're striving and they're trying, and the universe doesn't understand trying. The universe doesn't understand force. It understands resonance. And when you surrender to the feeling of, well, if I already had this, if I was already living this way, if I'm 2 months into my perfectly manifested reality, where it's like old hat to me at this point, I'm 2 months in, I already have what I want, I'm already living the life that I want, then it would just feel natural to you. A lot of people try to get excited or really get high vibe, and like, if I was a millionaire, if you were a millionaire, 2 months in, 3 months in, a year in, you just be like, yeah, this is old hat. It's normal. It's your normal. But that normal can still feel good. That normal can still feel like relief. That normal can still feel like freedom. That normal can still feel like a release. That normal can feel like a surrender. And surrender is the secret sauce. You let go. Manifestation is not about adding anything. It is about subtracting. Surrendering is not about giving up. It is about letting go. It is about stripping away the layers where we perform life out of fear. We perform life out of a sense of inadequacy. We perform life as if we're forever misunderstood, inadequate, unlovable. How are we a resonant match for something that feels complete and whole? And manifestation, when misunderstood, becomes a performance of fear. You'll say things like, oh, I'll visualize every day. But underneath, your fear is telling you, if I skip a day of writing out a script or saying my affirmations, then maybe it won't happen. You're assuming lack. It doesn't matter how many affirmations you repeat. It doesn't matter how many scripts that you do. It doesn't matter how many techniques or rituals, because you're operating from panic, not power. You think, oh, if I say this mantra enough, maybe it'll override my doubt. It doesn't work that way. If it did, we'd have millionaires and happy people walking around on this planet. We would be living in a very different world. The small self who thinks and performs her way into manifesting has forgotten. You're already part of all that which is. You'll never not be that. All that you desire is already here. But the small you lives in fear of the silence that follows uncertainty. We fear going into the silence. We fear going into presence, because then we think we're going to have to confront reality. Because a lot of us still think that manifesting our desires or living our most preferred reality is a fantasy. It's delusional. That's not what comes from a place of power, of being in communion and resonance with presence of all that which you are. That's fear. That's panic. If you think stillness equals uncertainty equals unsafety, you are missing out on the greatest foundational bedrock of quantum reality creation, which is stillness, its presence. The unchanging you, the unchanging self, always and forever knows this. Only in the stillness of presence do you remember and rejoin with the desires that are part of your soul's destiny, not your ego's needs for validation and proof of worthiness. If you're not in the stillness, you can't discern which is which, and you won't discern which is which. This is why spiritual awakening is not a journey of self-improvement. It's not more false religion. It's a journey of self-remembering. It's a journey of self-realization. And it's not even the human self. It's the unchanging self. And this isn't about dissociating from our humanity. It's not about that at all. Because when you are in the presence of the unchanging self, resonating at that frequency is like a fountain of light. It's like a fountain of golden light. And it feeds everything within that orbit, including the human self. So then the human self isn't running around trying to be the master. It realizes it was the servant of the unchanging self the whole time. The desires become emblems and symbols of that service to the unchanging self, because your desires do not come from the human you. No. The desires come from the soul. Your desires are invitations to realities that are already alive. You're not manifesting them. They are calling you. That's why you have awareness of them. You wouldn't have awareness of them if they didn't exist. If they weren't already part of, let's just call it a parallel timeline, an alternate dimension that your perception doesn't have to be trained on, happen to be trained on at the moment. The unchanging self is the presence beneath the temporary consciousness of the small self that tries and forces and acts from effort instead of alignment. Meanwhile, you're the consciousness that existed before a body and a name, before the story, before your childhood, before your fears. This self is not separate from life. It is life. It is the ocean behind the wave. The small human self is just a drop, pretending it's the ocean. The unchanging self is the electricity illuminating the light bulb. It's the infinite primary creational force and the current that animates consciousness to move and experience itself through infinity. And here's another secret. Secret hiding in plain sight. Again, you're remembering this. I'm not teaching you anything. The unchanging presence, this self, already lives in every reality you desire. It animates and gives life to every reality you desire lived out, because it already exists. Because this self is not bound to one timeline or one identity. It is a destiny, and that destiny can have many paths, many timelines, many ways in which that destiny is experienced and lived out. It is connected to every possibility simultaneously. So when you reacquaint yourself into perceiving from this lens, through this lens, your entire reality shifts. When you give your awareness and attention and focus over to the resonance of this self, you can't help but be forever changed. And tomorrow we pick up this thread. But for tonight, practice breathing yourself into this presence. It's very simple. You breathe in and you breathe out, and you go deep into stillness with each in-breath and out-breath. Attempt to make them of equal duration, the inhale and the exhale, and let it be one seamless flow. You're breathing in. Without stopping, you're breathing out. And as you're breathing out, you're not stopping and you're breathing in again. And keep it of equal duration until you establish a rhythm. And as you go deep into stillness, and I'll put these questions in the email when I send you guys the replay tonight. You go into deep stillness and you ask, what does this remembered awareness invite me to become more aware of after this transmission? What emotion did I let move through me today in this transmission? Just feeling it instead of managing it or judging it. What truth about myself felt more real or lived in today? And then I have one final thing for your consideration. Let's see. In the chat box, I am putting a link. So yes, what I'm sharing in here is a taste of what I offer. And my premium program, it's my signature program. It's going to keep getting built out because it's the thing I was really born to do. And if you have a lingering resonance of your soul's response to these words and this energy here today, then this program is for you. This program is called Liberate Conscious Creation Codex. And it's been the foundation of everything I've shared in the last 6 months of my Golden Thread mentorship. It is the oneness model as lived in wisdom in the grounded, gritty, everyday reality of our human lives. It is a journey of peace. It is a journey of freedom. It is a journey of prosperity. It is a journey of liberation on all fronts. And it's an opportunity to really embark upon a journey of self-remembering at the next level, beyond these words, beyond this resonance here. Step into the frequency where you don't fix your life, you shape it. Because you're in the full frequency alignment of oneness, aligned with the unchanging self. And so I have a very special limited time offer of savings on this program, Liberate Conscious Creation Codex. And until tomorrow night, December 4th at midnight Eastern Time, I'm offering very special savings of $250 off the full payment price or $150 off the 2-payment split pay option. And this is the last time I'm offering any savings until, well, January 7th, 2026 is when we start again. So this is the last opportunity to get any savings on this program. And the link is in the chat, so you can read about it, see if it's for you. But I will tell you that I have witnessed and have celebrated along with so many people who have expanded from this, so many expansions in this program, and sharing this lived in wisdom with my Golden Thread mentorship members over the last 6 months. Clients have celebrated new homes, new living and career opportunities, new special partners, new collaborators. They've birthed new programs, acting opportunities, very generally speaking, a sense of peace and freedom like they've never felt before, like their life finally belongs to them and feels like an adventure to be had instead of a burden to be carried. It changes everything. And now it's your turn if you're called. So I'll have that information in the email as well. You'll get day 1 replay when I send out the email tonight. I need a break and I need to walk my dog. I hope that this is the tonic that served you well today. I truly do. And we're going to deepen into this tomorrow. We're going to talk about the resonance of safety and deserving. And I hope to see you all there for day 2. Same time, same link. Bye for now, everyone. Many blessings and much love.